Alright, so this is for anybody that is trying to register a Hawk 250 in Oregon. I just got it done. It cost me about $262 for the title registration, which lasts 4 years. I bought this bike brand new. It had been assembled, but I think it had 4 miles on it. So because of that, it actually went from Ricky Power Sports in Texas to the guy that I bought it from. He paid the import tax on it, which is now required when you're registering a new vehicle. So when I went to the DMV, that was actually required, that they have the certificate number or the actual certificate in hand. Like, you can show them a digital copy of it, but they have to have that. If you get your vehicle used from somebody else and it's newer than 10 years, you have to have a odometer disclosure reassessment form, which is kind of like a bill of sale on top of having your manufacturer's certificate of origin. So if you go in there and you bought the bike from somebody and you want to get, and let's just say that they couldn't get it licensed in their state, you want to get yours licensed in your state, but the bike is technically, you're technically the second owner, even though it doesn't have a title. You have to have that reassessment odometer paperwork. So make sure you go to the DMV, you fill out your title transfer. Even though you don't have a title, you have to fill that out anyways. Show them your tax form, show them your ID, make sure you have like $262 for the whole process. And I got my plates, so I got it registered. I'm just waiting for those to come in the mail, and I've already ridden it. Funny thing is I added it to my insurance, and because I already have a motorcycle, they didn't actually charge me, because the Geico, apparently when you have more than one motorcycle, you get a discount. So the discount was equal to what it would have cost me to insure this, so it was free. I'm paying $100 a year for both my motorcycles, my 86 Honda Magna and this. This is a 2017. So if you're trying to register, make sure you have that stuff with you. It was an easy process once I had the paperwork. If you get it directly from Ricky Power Sports, tax information, manufacturer certificate of origin, driver's license, cash. Should be that simple. And you're going to tell them to look it up as a Howson. I did have to have this inspected. They couldn't find Howson. That was another thing on their list. So they actually came out and they were looking for the VIN number, which is behind here, and they were looking for the sticker on the engine, you know, the fact that the tires are marked with Department of Transportation, you know, all its lights and everything. My son's trying to get my attention. Anyway, so I did all that, and the bike is great. I'm so glad I got this. It's awesome. I'll show you a couple of the add-ons I did. I got these for like $22 off Amazon. The inner diameter of this that slides into it isn't correct, so you actually have to wrap the insert. I actually cut my bars off because otherwise it was going to hit. There's usually like a little ball on the end. I cut that off. Made myself a windshield out of some plexi, hit it with a heat gun, bent it, double stick tape on the inside, replaced the headlight with a another purchase off Amazon, an LED headlight. There's that. It didn't fit perfectly in, so I actually had to angle it correctly so the beam is horizontal, and then I had to tape it in, but it works fine. I got my off-road permit, went through and Zip tied a bunch of these cables out of the way, make sure they didn't hang up. I got this fiberglass wrap. It's supposed to prevent the carburetor from getting too hot. This is actually the upgraded carburetor. It actually, Makuni, I think. It came with the bike. He had already purchased it and installed it. He also did a valve job. You need to make sure you do a valve job when you get the bike before you try to run it. There are videos from like motocheez, has some videos on how to do that. Make sure you do that before you try to run it. He's super excited I'm talking to my phone. I took off the rubber things here so I have more grip. I adjusted my brake so it was more level, slightly down. Made myself a skid plate just out of some metal I had lying around. I adjusted the length on my spark plug wire. Going around the bike. Let's see, what else did I do? These clips, watch out for these clips. They're not bent properly. You have to like bend them back on themselves and squeeze them to make sure they don't come out. I actually have one pop off. I just got done doing the I just added the 40 tooth sprocket. These come with a 15 in the front and a 50 in the back, which makes it so when you're in 5th gear, you're revved out trying to do 55, 60. With the 40 tooth in the back and the 15 in the front, you have to remove 2 links from your chain, but it'll make it so that you can be doing 50, 55 in 4th gear. When you hit 5th gear, you can do 60, 65, even 70. Definitely need to do that if you plan on riding on the road. You also have to go through and adjust your spokes, make sure your wheel's true, make sure you align the center knobby with this part right here. When you look under the bike, look up there, make sure your knob's aligned. You adjust these bolts left or right side to make your tire angle. I added the tube, and inside the tube I actually have a fuel canister for going a little bit farther. I'm not sure how many milliliters or whatever it is, but it fits perfectly. I put a little piece of plastic in there to stop it from rattling. I was looking for a rear racks, so I actually went to Goodwill and I found this rack. It was actually a United States Navy mess. Sorry, I'm trying to screw this on. Mesh tray, stainless steel, you know, fairly rigid, especially with all those divots. Drilled the holes, mounted it straight to the back, put some grip tape on it. I was able to load up my whole sleeping, my tent, my pad, my sleeping bag, all on this, and it didn't budge at all. I removed the spark arrestor because you need more airflow coming from the carburetor. It gives it a deeper sound. I couldn't get to the catalytic converter. It's welded inside the pipe. This is where the attachment is to remove the muffler, but it would be too much of a pain to get to that. So I just removed the spark arrestor, let it breathe easier. What else? I changed the oil with Valvoline 1040 motorcycle oil. That's important. I think I've only got 37 miles on this right now. Make sure that you change the oil immediately when you get it. Ride it a little bit, very gently. Change the oil again. I also replaced the brake light with an LED light I got off Amazon. So by doing that to the headlight and to the brake light, I'm saving on some wattage so that the stator doesn't have to strain as much. So when you're actually turning on your blinkers or braking, your headlight doesn't dim. I added the RAM mount for my phone. What else? I ordered some new mirrors, the MSR mirrors that fold under. Haven't got those yet. Oh, I added this is like an MSR basically duplicate. It's a Bike Master I got off eBay, folding shift lever. It fits. I think it's made for a DRZ 400, but it's close. I mean, there's that bolt right there. It almost hits. But I'm able to shift no problem with that. What else? Oh, I moved the chain guide so the chain's actually aligned properly. So now if it moves, it's going to be rubbing on the chain guard. I also did the mod where I took the 15 sprocket off, flipped it around, which is a huge pain in the butt because the plate that holds the sprocket on has to be on the inside, and the bolts have to go through the plate, and the sprocket has to go on the tooth, and then you have to like spin that plate with the bolts on it to line up with the sprocket and then screw them in. But basically the whole reason to do that is just so that you're moving the sprocket over about 3/4 of an inch, so it changes the alignment of the chain so the chain lines up better. It doesn't hit your tire, which is kind of an issue. Oh, I did the airbox mod. There are other videos on how to do that, but you take your seat and your side panels off and you take the top off the airbox and you cut out some sections that are blocking your air intake. So I did all those things. Oh, I totally forgot the shocks. So the 2017 actually comes with, I believe, 30mm inserts in your shocks. When you take these off, they're spring loaded. The insert comes out. The previous years had a smaller insert. The insert in this is about yay big, 30mm. I had to add an additional 15mm insert on top of that because when you go to lift the bike, the shocks shouldn't click up. See how the shocks didn't move when I did that? If you don't have enough insert, the shocks will actually click, like expand when you raise the bike. And so you got to get it to the point to where you add enough inserts so that it doesn't do that. And when you're sitting on the bike, see, it still works. It's just more responsive. I also had to adjust the throttle cable because the slack in this was insanely loose. I got just a little bit of slack now. It's perfect. Had to adjust the brakes. Basically went over the whole bike, tightened all the bolts, made sure it was running right. Haven't replaced the turn signals with LEDs. You can get a full set for like $10 and replace the whole set with LEDs. I didn't really see a point in doing that yet, but oh yeah, I also put this aluminum heat shield wrap on the inside of this plastic piece to try to keep it from, you can kind of see it, it's just adhesive, it sticks on the inside, to try to keep the exhaust from melting this plastic. When I mounted the license plate, the holes didn't line up with this. They're a little bit on the inside, so you actually have to drill out that a little bit if you don't want to modify your license plate. My shock was also stuck. The previous owner didn't put any grease on the shock, and so it wasn't rocking like it should. It was jamming up. So I greased that top and bottom. I added Marvel Mystery Oil to the shaft. I also added grease to my bolt going through the rear wheel, and put thread lock, blue thread lock on these bolts and these adjustment bolts to make sure they don't come loose. So yeah, just make sure before you take it for a ride all willy-nilly, go through this thing and make sure it's safe, because you don't want to wreck your brand new bike that you just got. So that's everything. Let's just fire it up real quick. I'll just show you. It's pretty awesome. So it's cold. I just got done doing that sprocket change. And when you get the carburetor, the Mikuni, I believe it's called, carburetor dialed in, the airbox mod, the exhaust mod, you change your idle right here. I backed it off, it was idling way too high, and you adjust your throttle, this thing fires up amazing. Turn it on, kill switch is off, gas is on. Back here is your carburetor, down is choke off, middle is medium choke, top is choke all the way on. I turn it to the middle so the choke is half on. Look at that. I mean, it's like 60 degrees out right now, and that thing just fires up on half choke. So easy. It's just, it blows my mind. I let it warm up like this for 2 minutes, turn the choke off, good to go. With that spark arrestor out of there, it has much lower hum to it too. It's really nice. Yeah, sounds a lot better. Anyway, so I'll probably do riding reviews on this later, but for now I just wanted to show you what add-ons I've done, and I just wanted to say, you know, the process for doing it in Oregon is not that big of a deal. So if you can get it cheaper because somebody couldn't get theirs registered, do it, buy it. I got this for $1,100, paid $262 for the plates and tags, and then for the accessories, they're so cheap. I mean, this thing's like 20 bucks, 22 bucks, 24 bucks, you know. And if you're creative, $4, $2, or $3. You know, this sprocket I just put on, that was like another $22. I mean, the mods for it are so inexpensive. So, 2 thumbs up. That's 1 thumb, but you get my drift. And yeah, more to come. Later.